Hey Ashley, this is Clayton. Just going to show you the tutorial on how to use the Filmic Pro App if we can get it on your phone, and if not, I'll run through a couple of other apps that we can use as well. So this is the Filmic app. This is what you should see when you fire it open. This is the best one to use if we can. It's pretty simple to use. It might look kind of complicated at first, but it's not that bad. First, you have this little square, which if you tap and hold will give you the focus, and this is what we really want. We want to be able to control our focus and to dial it in on exactly what it is that we're wanting to look at. So if I hold that square, I can dial in that focus to where this LED stand is perfect, and then I can leave that there. Now if it goes red, that means it's locked. The next thing we have is this one here, which is going to be the shutter speed and sort of the brightness. So I can turn this down and brighten and lower it as much as I want in order to create the image exposure that I'm looking for. Generally with video, underexposed is better. It's just a little easier to do with the colors then. Those are the two things that we really need to worry about. And if you can focus and if you can get the exposure looking right, then that will be the biggest improvement to our videos that we need. This app gives you the most control. It gives you control over resolutions and frame rates and things like that. So if you can use the app, then I will run through that with you and we'll get it even more dialed in. But this is an iPhone. The Filmic app is on Android, but it's a little more complicated with Android, just with all the different phones that are available on Android. So if you can't get that one, grab my Android example phone here. So this is the stock Android Htc Camera App, and this is better than most Android camera apps. This gives me direct control over the ISO, so I can bump it up or bump it down. Generally you want to leave it as low as it will go, and adjust your lighting according to that, but if you can't do that, that's fine. As long as it's not on auto, that's good enough. Exposure EV, this is going to control more of your lighting. Again, try to leave that at 0 if your camera app has it. And for the white balance, we do not want AWB. We want it either on daylight or cloudy. Pick whichever one looks better for you, and then I will correct it even more in post when I edit them. The last thing that kind of stinks with Android apps is they tend to not give you too much control over focus. That's why we want that Filmic app. So if we can't get that, we'll just do our best to try to make sure that the square is on our subject and on what it is that we're trying to film. But if we can't make that happen, that's fine. Other than that, you're just going to try to make sure that on your stock Android app you have the biggest, highest resolution that you can find. And other than that, it should work fine. We basically just need ISO and white balance is the biggest two things right now. In the case that your Android app does not give you direct control over your ISO or even white balance, but it should at least give you white balance, there is another option we can go with. This one is the most simple of all of them. It's called Open Camera. So this one right here. And this is what that app looks like. So you have your toggles between photo mode and video mode right there. And it's kind of the same principles that we're used to. So first thing we want to do is make sure that we go to our settings, the little 3 dots. We want to make sure that there's a grid so we can compose. Any camera app that you use, you want to make sure the grid's on. And the white balance, same thing. If you have direct control over it and it gives you numbers, you want to do that, and you want to set the numbers to 5600K. If not, choose daylight or cloudy. Probably daylight, it's a little less yellow and it'll make it easier to correct. Same thing with focus. This app doesn't give you really very good control over your focus. So that's going to be a little bit of a problem for us, but we'll make sure to do what we can do with what we have available to us. Other than that, this app gives you ISO controls right there. So that's the little plus and minus at the top. And again, it really doesn't matter what one you choose as long as you just stick with it, as long as it's not on auto. Again, as long as we have more control over the camera, the better. So I'm just using my DSLR right now, and basically what we want to do is give ourselves as much control so that we can turn the shot that you were looking at through my phone screen into something that looks a little bit better. And I know that this is just focusing on an LED, but we can be looking at something that looks about like this instead of kind of the jumbled, not very focused, weird looking mess that was on the camera on our phones. And you can get that kind of an image out of a phone, it just takes some practice. So do what you can to try to make sure that we have Filmic Pro on your phone, and if it doesn't, that's okay. We can make do with the Android app or with that open camera that I showed you. The main thing, again, I've repeated myself a bunch, is just make sure that nothing is on auto that you can turn off auto.